I think for me, a lot of it is activism and really like focusing on like how we can make the world a better place for, future generations. I think that we live in such a crucial moment right now, and it is up to us to fully take advantage of that. So that and yoga.
I love that. That's awesome. All right, so let's talk about more about YVote. You are a founding member, that's correct, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So what made you decide to start such an organization? And what is for those
Okay.
people?
So YVote is essentially like a bipartisan organization that aims to get youth to the polls. So I joined in 2016 because I thought it was, well, I didn't really know much or anything about politics at all. And I figured that I should at least try to know something. So I joined YVote as an opportunity to kind of like expand like my civic knowledge and kind of see where I fit within like the entire concept of civics, and like what could I, as somebody who couldn't vote yet, like what could I do?
Comments. So how does YVote function, and kind of what role did you play in that as a founding member, and do you continue to play in that as a leader within the organization?
So in the beginning, I was just in the program. So we did a lot of activities based off of like, like why don't people vote? Like, what are like the root causes of people not voting? And like, what are some strategies we can use to like really get young people to the polls? And then I graduated high school, and I took on sort of like a more leadership role within the organization. So over the summer, we had our summer institute, and essentially it's like a place for new like prospective Y voters to kind of come and like hone in on their activism and like really build up the skills needed to oh my goodness, really build up the skills needed to be civically engaged in a way that's meaningful. And so over the summer I was a facilitator for that, and it was just really exciting.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
And so you've mentioned a lot about the things that YVote does to get students or kids to the polls, or sorry, I guess I misspoke, to engage the youth in politics, and those who can vote to the polls. But why do you personally feel passionate about this topic?
I think, like I was saying before, we are genuinely so lucky to be alive within like this moment in time. I think that there is so much potential for our country, our world, just like our general states. And I think that it's so important to capitalize on that. And personally, I feel like we need to take advantage in any way that we can, because we are like truly fortunate. Like we have an opportunity to make living in this like world better for everyone. And especially like considering like all of the important elections that are going on, not even just at the presidential level, but even like smaller elections, like even more locally, like those are like points where somebody has the power to make the change that they would like to see, and like their voices really do matter at that instant. And so I think that's always like a concept that's really been like super interesting for me.
Awesome. And how does environmentalism fit into your perception of civic engagement?
I think that environmentalism, like, it's not really an issue that is talked about in the way that I think it should be talked about.
Yeah.
So like, I think that, environmental like climate change is such like a broad topic issue, and it doesn't really have like, it's not really in your face like other issues that we are also concerned about.
Yeah,
And
sure.
so I think that it's important to kind of like pay attention to it because it affects us in like more subtle ways. So one of the things that we focused on, I actually facilitated the climate justice group this summer, and one of the main things that we focused on was like environmental racism and how his our history of like redlining and forcing like Black and brown people into certain communities, like what that does to them geographically. So like the asthma rates in the Bronx, and like the way that COVID-19 disproportionately affects like poor people of color. So I think that it really truly does affect us in ways that we couldn't even possibly imagine. So.
Yeah, definitely. And I agree with you on that point that it's particularly poignant now during this time of COVID. How has COVID affected your idea of what civic engagement means and how YVote has handled that?
I think that, well, I'm going to start off with YVote. I think that one of the main
Sure.
challenges for this summer was figuring out how to continue our work in like virtually.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it was really important for us to like foster the connections between each other, and to really like impart knowledge on like our new Y voters and like really like give them the skills and empowerment that they need. So we added in a lot more time in which like we can just speak to one another, and I think that like that's one thing that COVID, like the whole pandemic, has taught me, that like we we have to care about people outside of ourselves. Like we are so used to taking care of our own self-interests, but sometimes it's like our own self-interests aren't really at stake while someone else's are. And I think that it's
Right.
important to kind of like really shift our focus, to really help those who need it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And then how has COVID affected your personal perception of civic engagement?
I think it just makes it all the more important. um, Whoops. I think seeing all of like the craziness that came from like the pandemic and like the um yeah, and like the governmental response, like I think that like these are all things that we as like the people have the power to like not control, but like we have a say.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that it just makes being civically engaged, or how I like to say civically sexy, much more important.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hashtag that.
Thank
Hashtag.
you. Yes, feel free.
Awesome.
No.
Oh,
Oh my gosh, I keep
so
opening my
moving
AirPods.
forward,
My
you're
bad.
good. You're good. So moving forward, where do you see yourself personally going in life in general, just like aspirations for the future, and also second part to that question, where do you see YVote going? Where do you see yourself taking it, or just the organization in general, the general trajectory of
Mhm.
of
Okay, I think I'm gonna start with YVote. I think that YVote's potential is honestly unlimited. I think that we do such great necessary work and necessary relevant work. And I think that so many more teenagers are realizing like our role. And these comments are hilarious. Oh my gosh. But I think that it's like the potential is really limitless. And I remember starting off YVote in like, I think it was like the CUNY or SUNY like education center in Manhattan. And it was like 40 of us, and we were like all in one room and like doing the exercises, and like seeing how YVote has truly grown over time. Like we just hosted our biggest cohort ever with over like 100 teens, and we like, I think that our message is now being spread like wider than it ever has been before. Yes, the CUNY Grad Center with no windows. And like, it's just so amazing to see how much we've grown. And like, I will forever be grateful for everything that YVote has done for me. And now in terms of myself, I think that for me, I really, really, really would like to work in local politics. I'm not sure at what point in my life that's going to happen, but it definitely is. I think that as I move through college, I see a lot of, I'm realizing the importance of like local governance, and like, you know, the importance of being involved in organizations, and, you know, just like the community around you. There are so many things that exist that people don't take advantage of because, you know, maybe they don't know, or like maybe they don't have time. And I think that like these are all things that, you know, barriers that we have to kind of like try to push past. And so like for me, definitely something involving like local governance. Yeah. So
That is great. So I guess we don't have that many viewers right now, but if anyone who's been watching wants to ask a question before we wrap up, we'll open the floor to our 4 viewers.
You know, it's okay. They're the ones that matter. They're the ones that count.
Yeah. All right. I don't think we have any questions coming in unless they're typing, but I don't know.
Well, thank you so much. I had so much fun.
Yes, thank you for
I'm super excited for our event on Wednesday.
Yes, everybody register. Oh, wait, we do have a question.
That. Great. Why do you think people why do you think people who care about environmental justice should vote? Okay. Well, I think it's important because you kind of because at this point, like, I'm sure everyone is like heard about like all of the I did something weird to my screen, but I'm sure everybody's heard about all of the like kind of like countdowns that are happening that kind of like make you more aware of like how we're, you know, spiraling, like shooting towards the point of no return with our climate. And I think that it's super important to really, you know, find, you know, politicians, find representatives who are taking like proper action and who care about like that and the smaller issues of environmental justice. So, you know, politicians who care about things like redlining and like really, you know, starting focus, like have a focus on environment from communities up.
Yeah,
and then
for sure.
What should we look forward to learning on Wednesday? On Wednesday, I think there's so many great voices that I think that we all have like a unique experience within environmental justice and civics, and I think that it's gonna be a super it's gonna be a good time. And I think that we're going to learn more about, you know, the environment in general, but more specifically how civics fits within that concept, which is something that I think is super important, especially considering November 3rd is coming very quickly.
Yes. So on Wednesday, we will be joined by Katrice and 5 other YVote members, and they are going to talk to us about their experiences with YVote, with civic engagement, what civic engagement means to them, how environmentalism fits into civic engagement in their experience and in general, and just to hear that youthful perspective, that youthful voice, is going to be really exciting. And so thank you again so much, Katrice, for
Yeah,
joining me
thank
today.
you.
And I look forward to seeing you again and moderating our discussion on Wednesday.
Awesome. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.